negotiations until 12 o'clock if needed. Okay. Impasse discussion. Sheree, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So we reached impasse while we were on Christmas break, which was December 22nd. And so we'll need to do 2 extension agreements. The first one to go from December 22nd to January 6th, and the second one to go from January 6th to January 21st, which will cover today's meeting. I did email those out. Are there any objections to executing those today?
No, there's not.
Okay. Next, we'll have a presentation of counter offers from Kelly.
Mr. Williams, before we do that, would you like us to discuss what we had sent y'all last week to review, just so that it, we can have everything on the record? I know we sent you an email late last week in preparation for today. We'd just like an opportunity to read that in before you guys start.
Sure. Your email said that for us to be ready with our final offer, so we were just moving it along. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I understand, and just there may have been some confusion there, but it's our understanding that we needed to read that stuff in so that it was done on the record in negotiations.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
All right. I'm just going to read that email that we sent to you. We've provided documents in an effort to maximize our time in the meeting for the next scheduled meeting on the 14th. Attached are some documents that are articles left in question and are separated for easier review. These documents represent the proposal that we believe will pass a vote by our membership. For clarity, it is our intent that all fire and EMS personnel in the bargaining unit are treated equally under the articles of this contract. Our goal is for all bargaining unit members to receive equal working conditions and benefits, including but not limited to work schedules, Kelly days, leave accruals, incentive pays, etc. For the sake of making most efficient use of everyone's time on Wednesday, we ask that you review these documents attached and make them any necessary considerations ahead of the meeting. If you have any counter proposals, we will consider them as your last, best, and final offer so that we can schedule a membership vote to move forward. We appreciate your time and are open to any questions you may have, and suggest that we keep all questions and answers in this email thread recording to keep in track for the intent to present this in the meeting on Wednesday so that it is all on the record.
If you just want to go through each one of those articles that I sent you.
Thank you.
To get those on the record as well, then we can move forward after that.
We didn't add your counters, so I'd have to pull it up from my email because we were just prepared to present our draft. If necessary, I can have your email as well as those attachments included to a court reporter, and we'll just incorporate them as by reference in the record.
Do y'all want our counter offers on the record?
Sure.
Yeah, we
We don't have to go through them. I figured that. Okay, all right. Do you want
So you can just go through it. I don't have them. It's like I'd have to pull it up in my email, so it'd take a while. So you can just go ahead and get started, and I'll work on that.
We can wait. It'd be better for everybody to be able to see it.
Not that I'm talking myself.
you want, we can go in order of number. If you want to start with 7. This one's fairly simple. It's just language that I think that you all added in the last meeting, and we were agreeable to it. Article 9, maintenance of standards. We're good with this with the striking of section 3.
For questions or discussion, do you want to do it as we go, or do you want to wait till the end?
We could just wait till the end if you want.
That works.
Sick leave, Article 11. We just changed city to department because we have a sick leave policy in the department. Seems like that would be applicable over anything that the city has in place for civilian employees. And then we just added the language at the bottom just to be sure that we're all on the same page on exactly how the leave is accrued during those periods of time prior to September 30th, in between September 30th and when this document is executed, and then after the execution of the document. After September 30th, their civil service employees and civil service affords leave accruals. And then, of course, our collective bargaining agreement also affords additional leave accruals. Vacation and holidays. So 13. This one does the same thing as sick leave. Same concept applies here. Article 20, hours and overtime. Subsection 1 just changed, just took that wording out and replaced it with day personnel because day personnel is defined in the definitions, but then it's never used. So we can leave that and take day personnel out of the definitions, or we can replace that with day personnel so that there's a reason for day personnel to be defined. And then we struck section 4 at the bottom. Article 23. This is another easy one. Language that we discussed and agreed on already. We don't have any changes on that one. Article 26, wages. Struck the previously proposed language in section 2. We added section 3 mainly because we don't have any ability to know exactly what each one of our EMS employees, their wages, and we just want to make sure that this contract speaks to the fact that that both parties agree that we don't want them to lose anything. Article 29, the complete agreement clause. We just struck section 6. And then definitions. Just to be more specific, for day personnel, we changed firefighter assigned to firefighter and EMS employees working. And we did the same thing in the operations personnel definition. The intent of the operations personnel definition change is to include them in the Kelly Day language and hours and overtime. And then in the wage table, again, I know there was a little bit of discussion on whether the numbers were correct or accurate last time. I didn't see anything new emailed, so I'm not sure if they were right or not. But I just basically took what the numbers that were already in the first column and added 2% to it to reflect a 6% raise. And then the second column already had a formula in it, so it reflects a 3% after that.
Yes, that it?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we just want to make sure the record's clear about where we're at going into this negotiation, since you asked for the kind of best and final to go to the membership. We have received from you as the remaining articles that are outstanding, not agreed to at this point, and need to be discussed as Articles 7, 9, 11, 13, 20, 23, 26, 29, the appendix with the definitions, and the wage table. Is that correct? That's all that's remaining for today's negotiations.
To my knowledge, I just went based on Sheree's previous email about what was open.
Okay, the email we received from y'all on Friday only indicated those 8 articles plus the definitions and wages. I just want to make sure we're agreeing to that.
To my knowledge, those are the only ones that have changed. Aside from recognition, which we already talked about that, I think she already changed that. That would change.
Some of what was put up, we agreed to.
Sure.
So if you've taken those out, and the remaining numbers, if you read those are the ones in question.
What I read is what was attached to the email that the city received on Friday from the union, indicating that those were the remaining articles for negotiation. So we just wanted to introduce those as exhibits for the court reporter to have the record clear about what we were left to talk about today. That's all.
We can. When you said the ones left open for negotiations, if you've written down every one we discussed, 2 or 3 of those were agreed upon. So we don't need to negotiate those.
Right, they were just what was left open coming into the meeting today. And there, what I'm saying is there's nothing else other than the ones that were attached to the union's email. There's not some other articles that are still needing to be negotiated that we don't know about, right?
Right, and some of the ones in the email were agreeing to
I understand
what
that,
y'all's changes were.
right. So the list will go down, but it's not gonna get bigger. That's what we're trying to be clear about. Okay.
As long as we've agreed on that language that we talked about before in the recognition article.
I didn't make any additional changes post the meeting, so whatever language you agreed upon last time has already been incorporated. We did it in the meeting, so it should be reflected in the minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so we've tendered those to the court reporter just for the record. And I think we are in agreement on Article 7, and 23. So I don't, if y'all want to look at those again, we can, but Article 7 is oh, thank you. Yeah, this was language we had proposed on the 25th, and y'all have agreed to. And so I think we can agree that this article is complete and move on. All right. And if you want to pull 23. And this one also has language that we had proposed on the 25th, and you didn't have any changes to. So I think we can agree on that one and move on. So then going in order would be 9, would be the next one. Y'all had proposed to strike the language that limit. Oh. Sorry. So our counter today is to retain the language about the maintenance of standards only applying from the time that the EMS personnel became civil service. We offered that just for clarity to make sure that everybody's on the same page about what standards control. And I'm struggling with why there would be something prior to September 30th that the union would expect to be carried over after the civil service implementation took place.
It's our stance that we believe that the past practices that work for the fire department, that have been in place for the fire department, would continue on for all fire department personnel. So if there was something that we've done in the past, now we have new members of the Beaumont Fire Department that they're still treated the exact same way as our firefighters right now. The past practice would apply to them.
And what is your footnote?
So the footnote, I did my best to try to reflect who's made what changes throughout, because we had used some color tracking, but then in the proposal we got back from y'all on Friday, sometimes it was in our color, sometimes it was in your color. So all the footnotes is to try to clarify who did what when. So the strikeout has the footnote 1, reflecting that y'all had wanted to strike that. And then our proposal for today has footnote 2 and it's in green. So that's where we're at. I think the maintenance of standards is a function that is unique to labor negotiations and employees who are covered under labor agreements. Trying to go back to before EMS folks were civil service employees subject to the contract and 143 and the other things that come along with that. I think it's going to create confusion down the road, and September 30th is kind of the marker that we use for a lot of these, like when the sick leave changed over and when different benefits come into place, and to try to predate that with maintenance of standards language, I think is going to cause confusion down the road.
I actually believe the opposite. I believe that your language would cause confusion because what maintenance standards references is it references the benefits of our firefighters and making sure benefits don't change. So you're going to have a group of individuals in the department that have different benefits than what we have now. It's going to be a lot easier to track if all of our employees receive the same benefits, which has been our intent this entire time. That language goes against every aspect of what we're here trying to solve today.
Well, but EMS personnel are unique because they were not always civil service, like the firefighters have been for, contracts and contracts and contracts. So there are things about their employment that are going to change as a function of the collective bargaining covering them. And that doesn't happen until right now. So for instance, the raises that are being considered and being put forth in the wage table, the changes to how the sick leave eligibility and what they accrue, you're going to have two things that conflict. You're going to say they have to be treated, we have to maintain the standards that they had before September 30th, but there's all of these new things that are going to apply from September 30th moving forward.
Yeah, shoot, I don't think we're in agreement.
Okay,
So maybe go to the next one.
sure. Next one would be 11. This was the proposal to have, what was added by the union's proposal was to allow for a sick leave payout option. Oh no, is this the one with the payout? Sorry, I can't see that far.
It's accrual.
Oh, accrual. So our change here was just to track the language, if you go up to the top, Sheree, that was already there, that references the accrual being in accordance with 143.045, as opposed to just 143. So it includes that. And then coming back down to B, I struck it because I wasn't sure what was trying to be accomplished there that was different from A. But I understand now that you're trying to cover the kind of three different periods, the pre-September 30th, the sort of interim, and the after. So I think we would be willing to change that strikeout in B and leave that in there. But we would want to change A to be specific to 045, because that's the provision in 143 that we're talking about in this section. Anything else on that? Okay. Do you want to just unstrike B here? It's not track changes, it's just the strikeout.
Oh, it's just strike out.
Yeah.
Perfect. No.
Why are we unstriking B?
Well, y'all had proposed B.
Yeah, B is your language. So I just unstruck it so that it's clear for the record that it's not being taken out.
And I thought we were going to leave A as well, but add 045 to it.
So it's still in, it's just this part is stricken out.
Okay.
So the sentence will read, after September 30th, 25, all EMS employees, sick leave accumulation and payment of sick leave will be in accordance with section 143.045 of the local government code. And then B will read as follows. So the only part that's stricken out is the part that's highlighted.
So this is my fault. But in the very beginning of this article, if you scroll up, wouldn't A match with section 1? So would that negate the necessity for B?
Probably, but
Y'all added B. We're just saying we're not opposed to it. So y'all added B. So we're saying if you need B in, we're fine. We didn't think it was a necessity, but we're not opposed to it. Does that make sense? It's, to your point, it's redundant, but we're not gonna, if it makes you feel better to have it in, we're fine with leaving it in, is what Kelly was trying to say earlier. But we agree, which is why we struck it originally, but it's
Gotcha.
not a make or break.
Yeah. 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 As long as they're accruing sick leave by civil service law after September 30th, we don't have to have the extra
So-
language. I don't like redundancy. I
So
think
it
we've
won't actually-
figured that out.
So I think what he's saying is we can strike A. Is that what you're saying, Cody?
No, I'm saying you can just take B completely out of there. We don't,
That's 11, right?
That's fine.
we can always discuss it again later if we need to. Just, for right now, you can just strike B out. Just to clarify, the intent of what we're trying to do here is just to ensure that they receive the sick leave accrual the same way that we do after September 30th. I've overcomplicated this, I know, but I just wanted to make sure that on the record that just letting you know what the intent of it was.
Okay, so that kind of gets into a sort of a retroactive aspect of this that I think we need to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Because basically.
The
A
reason
and
that
B-
we don't believe is retroactive is because they were sworn as civil service employees at that time, and we believe that they should be, that doesn't have to do anything
That's
with
not-
the contract. They were
that's-
civil service
That's not
whenever
the thing.
that.
That's not what she was getting ready to say. That's not what we discussed. A says after September 30th, and then B says execution of the agreement. That's what we're saying. There's one that says
Right.
September 30th is retroactive, and there's another one that says in the future. Those dates conflict.
I
That's,
think that's why
yeah,
we said strike B.
Yeah, and originally that's why we said we didn't care, but when we were discussing it, while y'all were discussing it, that's the original conflict. So
yeah.
to your point, it's not about going back, it's like retroactive versus current was the conversation we were trying to have.
Right.
So are you fine with striking it now?
Yeah. Thank you for your patience.
All right, I think if we're good, we can go to 13. So we had a counter on this. The request was to allow payout. Our original proposal would allow payout of the frozen sick leave, or excuse me, PTO and holiday accruals pre-September 30th to be paid out on separation. Y'all had proposed to add an option to pay out within 10 days. It didn't really say of when. I assume 10 days of the contract being executed. So our counter is that we would remove the option to pay out on separation and just make it an option to be paid out on execution of the agreement. So you don't have people who are keeping it all to exhaust it, people who are getting paid when the contract's executed, and then people who are holding it over to the end. We just wanted it to be, everybody gets paid out either at when they separate, or everybody gets the option to be paid out when the contract's executed, and not have two different timing situations. And then I think this one also had that same language we just looked at with B, which I'm fine to unstrike that or strike it or whatever. It was just sort of a function of the not being real clear what was trying to be accomplished with the B and C, it's B and C in this article.
Well, I think if we're gonna do it, then
We would strike C and leave
we
B.
would strike C and mirror the language in B.
So in terms of the payout, I think substantively, that's the discussion we should have.
As far as the leave accrual, this was the one that makes more sense than the sick leave, because there is a difference between civil service vacation accrual and the accrual that's in this CBA. So this is the one that got the thought process going to include that language in the sick leave article. Is you have pre-September 30th, you have September 30th to the execution date, which is when they would be accruing vacation leave during that period of time. Mm-hmm. And then after the execution of the document, they're covered under the CBA and they receive vacation accrual based on the CBA, which is different from civil service. That was the purpose of that language.
And we're fine. I don't disagree with that. I just wasn't sure why it was in there to begin with. So with that clarification, I think we would be okay to unstrike it here. And then it's just a decision about the payout timing.
I think that may be a good caucus discussion in a little while.
Sure. And we would ask that it be 10 days from the agreement being ratified and that it be submitted in writing. Those were the only additional.
Say again, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I have a question about that. Can you scroll down a little bit where I can see above B? I'm sorry, sorry. Okay, I wanted to see read all of A in its entirety.
I'm sorry, A?
Yeah, I wanted to be able to read it, all of its entirety. Can you get it all on there together or no?
It would shrink it
Okay.
really small?
No, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
EMS employees. Okay.
Does that work?
They have an option to do it then versus.
Yeah, okay. We're going to discuss that more in the caucus, okay.
Okay, and so we did unstrike B, that was the request, to unstrike B.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sheree,
Yes.
do you have these to where you can email them to us so that we can look at them while we're discussing them in caucus in a little while?
Yep.
Thanks.
Emailing.
Just as we're changing it here, the footnotes may not match. If we've changed something on this screen, the footnotes were from yesterday, so just, I don't know that we did change anything here, but,
That's fine.
I'll
okay.
delete that footnote just so it'll stay.
When we get done with this one, I do have a quick question on Article 16. Just a very minor change that I don't even remember us discussing that I just have a question on.
Okay. Let's go to, that was 13, yeah. Let's go to 20. Yeah, we didn't have any disagreement on the using the day personnel since it's defined elsewhere. Which was your first change? Oh, and yeah, we wanted to retain the language about the chief being able to control the schedule, so. I'm sure y'all disagree. We can discuss if you want, but otherwise we can move on to the next one. All right, 26 is the next,
Oh, so no to anything. Okay.
because we are in agreement on 23.
I'm just opening them all up because that's all the ones we have left. Oh, is that still? What else do we have?
26 is the next one.
No, she said we weren't. We
We've
didn't have
already
any
agreed on
proposal.
23.
26. So the last two would be the wages in this one.
We've got 26, 29 definitions and wages left. So 26, our counter here, and I think this is consistent with what we had discussed at the last meeting, and I apologize, we didn't have that reduced to writing, but I thought the discussion was that y'all just wanted the specific section from the settlement agreement that applies to, could apply in this context to be referenced. So we've added that here. It's section 2 of that settlement agreement that has to do with hiring and attrition and who the EMS personnel were at the time that the change was made to make them civil service. So our counter would be to retain that language and reference the settlement agreement, but add the specific section, because obviously not all of it applies, and I thought that was the concern last time.
It was last time, it was that the pertinent sections, we didn't know in the relevant terms. So we struck it because whatever we're referring to is in the agreement, and if we agree to it, it's agreed to. But we can now go back and talk and look at section 2.0 to see what it says and let you know about that.
Okay. We can go to 29.
I'm sorry, that was 26, right? Wages?
No.
Okay, so you do, I'm sorry, I didn't see the section 3. I thought it was removed. So y'all are in agreement with section 3?
Yeah, believe it or not, the city's not trying to have anybody lose pay over this transition. So we don't, I don't know that it's necessary language, but the city is not trying to do anything that would reduce benefits from EMS, what they had before.
The reason that we put that in there is, like Cody said earlier, in the wages, there's no way for us to know exactly what each individual employee makes that is EMS. And we've had several members reach out to us saying that the wage table that you guys proposed would affect their pay negatively. And so being that we don't know that coming into this, we just want to double check and make sure that not one of our members loses any pay as a cost of signing this agreement. That was the reason. I don't believe that you would intentionally try to do that, but there was question from some members about that pay schedule.
Sure, yeah, obviously the city really values the EMS personnel and wants to make sure that doesn't happen, so we don't have any problem with that being stated here.
Yeah, sorry if it seemed like I was accusing you of intentionally trying to do that. That's not what I meant, though. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I think that's 26, then 29 is the last article.
I think we already did that one. We already did that one.
That's,
The complete agreement clause.
okay, then what did we miss?
We did wages already. We did them out of order, just because that's how it popped up on the screen.
No, there's one that's missing. Hang on.
Definitions. That was it.
We talked about 20?
Yep. We did.
Okay. So really quick, that on the wages though, what we didn't talk about in our proposal is leaving in the previous language that we had about counting the EMS personnel towards the total number that would allow the city to have a second assistant chief. Y'all have made really clear wanting to treat EMS personnel similar to firefighters throughout this, and that's kind of inconsistent with the position taken here, which is treat them the same for all of the benefits, but when the city wants to add somebody to help manage, we're not going to treat them the same. We're going to
Yeah,
treat them differently.
their treatment and this language don't have anything to do with each other, but that's okay. If that's your stance, just understand we don't agree with that at all, and our members aren't going to agree with it either.
I understand your position. I just wanted to make sure we talked about it because I knew it was in here, but we hadn't covered it. So that's the other change in this article. All right. Why don't we do you want to do wages?
Did you want to cover definitions? We haven't did that one.
Either one. Yeah, we can do either one. So this, you had two changes proposed. The day personnel, which we're fine with defining it here and then using it in the article. And we didn't agree with the proposed language in operations personnel for all the reasons we talked about last time we were here. So our counter is to retain the language that we had proposed on the 25th. Okay, so this is the wage table that we had brought on the 25th with the sort of rates that were in effect. I should have put before September 30th rather than pre-negotiation, but that would be whatever is in place right now, is my understanding. Those are the current rates. Our proposal was 4%. And a 4% increase, not a 6% increase. And the reason that it was 4% is to account for the 3% that the EMS personnel had received just before the transition to civil service. So it was to try to keep parity with the percentage rate that the firefighters got under the contract. We saw that y'all changed it to 6%, and I thought we had settled on trying to keep those percentages the same. Fire got 7, EMS collectively was getting 7 in that sort of same time period. And then we left the same percentage for the October 2026.
I noticed in this wage table, you also have the step raises taken back out. So you're opposed to the step raises that we proposed? The reason I ask is I talked to one paramedic that gave me their monthly salary, what they make per month. And with a 6% raise and 3 step raises, this person is in the 3rd step raise, they would make the same amount per month that they do right now. So they're going to take a pay cut if this were to get approved.
I think we had agreed with the step raises. It's the percentage change that y'all had proposed that we were focusing on here. So we can put the steps back in. It's the 6% really that we were not in agreement on.
I think it's also focusing on not intending for anyone to make less money. So when you put the rate and the work schedules, I think they'll make less money at those rates.
If somebody's getting a,
Those are their base rates. Those aren't.
Right.
So I think when you have to look at someone's paycheck, it also includes their overtime. It's based on, even your salary is based on your base rate. We don't include overtime rates in the chart. So it's base rates, and then, like you said, we include the step raises, but these numbers reflect base rates. They don't affect overtime, and we understand that some of their schedules have built-in overtime, but this is just their base rate schedule, base rate pay.
Okay.
help me out if I'm missing something. How is it, no, like truly, if they're getting a 4% raise, how could they be making less with a 4% raise than before the raise?
I don't know. I don't have access to their, to all the numbers that you guys have access to. I'm just telling you what I was told. And maybe it does encompass the overtime. I have no idea.
My kids would say the math isn't mathing. If it's
Sure.
if they're getting a 4% pay raise, that should,
Right. But we do agree to add the steps back in.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
add the steps back in, but I think it's clear, and for the record, we need to reflect that anytime we say lose pay, it's just considered their base pay. No one's gonna lose any base pay, but obviously, them being added into your agreement, the department has rules as it relates to overtime and how those are implemented. So somebody who may have been getting a lot of overtime pre-contract, now having to do a difference, like may get less overtime, which will affect their pay. There's no way for us to account that. They're just gonna have to fall in line with whatever procedures y'all have as it relates to overtime pay, but their base pay won't be impacted by the agreement. They won't lose base pay on the agreement side.
all right. That's it. So I think y'all wanted to caucus on a couple of these and then come back together.
Yeah, as soon as we get the email, I would say we just need 15 minutes.
Okay, I don't know how 15 turns into 30. Why don't we just come back at about 10:20?
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
Is our same room available?
Yes. Okay, we'll reconvene. We have a couple of comments, then we'll throw it back to you.
We just want to make sure we're all on the same page about the wages, and because of the comment about somebody losing money, the language in there about retaining, not losing any money that was in the wage article, and then the proposed increases, those are all related to base wages only. So you could have an employee who made however much overtime 1 week in August of 2025. We're not saying that that's never going to change because they made, had extra overtime that week or whatever that affected. So all of the discussions about the increases, the percentage of increase in the wages has to do with the base rate only. Just want to make sure we're clear about that.
Okay, all right, well, we'll give it to you.
I want to remind everyone that we presented the city with modifications to the different articles that we felt like would be well received by the members and would result in a passing of a contract and let us move forward. And we asked the city that if you were not in agreement with that, to please give us your final that you would be willing to have voted on. And so when we got here today, we were presented with those, and unfortunately, we can't agree, and I'll go through the numbers of the articles that we can't reach an agreement on, but it's Section 9, Article 11, 13, 16, 20, 26, 29, the definitions, and the wage table. And we will request that you put that in a final form for us to present to the membership for a formal vote. And as soon as we get that, we'll get the vote posted and see what happens. But we don't expect the city's changes to be well received.
Okay, Glenn, and I know it's in the minutes, could you repeat those
Sure.
articles?
9, 11, 13, 16, 20, 26, 29, definitions, and wage table.
There was no email to us on Friday with Article 16.
16 was the one I said I had a question on before we broke. But I don't think that we're going to agree to it, but I can ask the question if you'd like, so we can
Yeah,
add
I
it
don't
to
even
the
know what
list.
we're not agreeing to, so if you're
In
saying
the
we don't
basic
agree,
rate
let's
of
talk about it.
pay article, where it says, basic rate of pay for the purposes of computing overtime pay, including callback pay for employees assigned to a 40-hour work week, and then it goes on after that. Dual certified was added in front of employees, and I don't remember us talking about it. I don't know what the purpose of that is, aside from specifically excluding EMS employees. But we're not in agreement with excluding EMS employees from that article, if that was the intent.
We can check the minutes to see what the discussion was on that item.
Do you have any idea when we might receive this from the city?
2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, the city has, we appreciate the discussion, we appreciate the negotiation. Our employees are what's most important to us. And we feel like we presented a very fair package to our employees that includes millions of dollars in wages and other benefits. And so we're here to continue negotiation if you want to negotiate. If not, I understand you need to take it to a membership for a vote. It's a little disconcerting that you're already assuming they're gonna vote it down, or seems like encouraging them to vote it down, when we could continue to have a negotiation if there are some things we could talk about. So we're here for, if you need clarifications, other information, but we're here for that. So
We don't need
we just know the
clarification.
city's here.
We don't need clarification, and we don't need you telling us what our intent is. We're going to present it to the union and let them vote on it. It's up to the members to vote, not us.
Yes, but you can't control what I say. So I can say what I feel like I want to say in this negotiation.
And we disagree with everything you've been saying.
Yeah, well.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
No, I don't need you
Can
to
you
thank
adjourn?
me for my time. I just said what I had to say. You said what you
Adjourn?
had to say.
Can you adjourn the meeting?
Appreciate it.
Can you adjourn the
We'll
meeting,
adjourn the
please?
meeting.
Thank you.